Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to say thank you guys for coming back. I think the last time I had a video on here was like a year ago. So I'm back. I actually had issues with IGTV, so it was almost meant to be for me to come back to YouTube. So today's YouTube is going to be about Botox, why I do it, what it is, what its uses are for, and all that jazz. So stick around. So a little backstory on why I even get Botox is I hopefully over time, I know, so pump the brakes. Okay, so there are a lot of injectors nowadays. There's also a lot of people who are moving into that field, but growing up, this has always been something I wanted to do. I would literally come up with my own little concoctions and share it with my family and make these like products for them, and I would do little fake injections and things like that to make them look better, or what I thought. They look exactly the same, but it was just very interesting to me. I would always see all these celebrities do all these things, and I would see some of them that were good, and I would also see the like celebrity horror stories, but I wanted to be one of the ones that would give you that instant gratification and that good look. So yeah, over time as I got older, I got more and more interested into it. I ended up working for an aesthetic company, and through there I got to shadow and also meet one of the greatest nurses that I've been lucky to even get injected by. And that also grew a larger interest for myself in this field, which I couldn't help but want to keep digging more into these treatments, what else is available, and what I actually think is a good treatment, what is something that I think is not really worth it, or something that might be just fun to try. And I think Botox has become one of my holy grail treatments, and I think it's something that is worth the investment. So that's why I wanted to make one of these videos, because I think it's worth the investment, and for myself I think it's the holy grail treatment. So boom. So I've been getting Botox now for about 3 years. I got my first injection back in 2015, so now it's 2019. So yeah, it's been quite some time. I would usually get it done in the beginning because I wasn't really sure like how to do it, and it's investment. So I only did it like once a year, and then I gradually saved up my Poshmark money and everything else, and bottled it up to 2 times a year, which I think is about is enough. I think like twice a year is good. You usually lasts about like 3 to 5 months depending on your own body's metabolism and how it metabolizes these products and stuff. So I would say that twice a year is great. So Botox is a product by Allergan, and it was originally used for treating muscle conditions, and now it's kind of cosmetically been used for temporarily paralyzing muscles in the face, to give a more snatched look. Okay, so now that we know what Botox is, now where can we use it? So there are a few different areas that you can use Botox. For myself, where I use it is the forehead area. So when I go like this, right now I'm smooth as a seal, so you could use it in the frown lines right here. I still like a little bit of movement. I don't want it to be super smooth because I make a lot of faces, and I feel like it would look a little weird if I was trying to be angry and it was just flat. You can also use it along the side here, which is called the crow's feet. You can also use it for right here, just considered, let me get closer, the bunny lines. That's not a cause for concern for myself, so I don't treat that area. Another area you can use it is the chin. You can use it to treat the dimpling in that. Another area you can do though is if you smile. I don't really have this issue as much as some other people, but the gum shows too much, which is considered a gummy smile. So you can treat that also by adding a few little drops of Botox in there, which will actually pull the lip down and give an illusion similar to mine, where you don't really see the gum area so much. This doesn't last as long as it would in the other areas of the face, I would say, because you tend to use your lips more often than anywhere else in your face. It usually only lasts about a month. Lastly, another area that you can use Botox that I'm familiar with, I haven't tried it yet, but I see it done very often, and I think it is a very useful area to treat, is the jawline. Some people use it to contour it and make it look more snatched and more, how do I say it, like ovally, if you tend to have a more square jaw, or if you overuse the muscles right here, this tends to get a little bit thicker, which ends up drying down here. You can actually put a few drops of injections of Botox in there too, which will smooth it out and naturally create a more snatched look. So how long does Botox last? So Botox tends to last around 3 to 5 months. Depending on your own body, everyone is different. Some injectors do also dilute the product. Mine tends to last around about 4 months, 4 or 5 months, and I'm a pretty active person. Okay, so Botox prices can be a little bit tricky. I feel like depending on where you go, the location, and the injector, it can all vary. I feel like generally it is between about $9 a unit to about $15, $16 a unit. There are some places that you can get it cheaper. I don't know too much. If the injector is good, then I think it's totally worth it. I would definitely also ask though, if they are diluting the product, sometimes having a lower price or a lot higher price doesn't exactly mean that you're going to get more Botox or it's going to last longer than you would somewhere else. I've been going to Dr. Rachel at Contempo in Pasadena for about 2-3 years now, and I feel like I trust her. I trust her word. We have an open conversation about the product and what's going into my face, and for that reason I've been with her for so long, because I'm aware of the product, the cost, and how long it's gonna last me, so I can also give or take when I should be coming in next, and I can also kind of financially invest that for that time. Okay, so a big question I always get asked is, when will I see results? I mean, I'm not a professional, but from experience, I do tend to see everything kind of kick in around day 3, 4. For some people, it's a little bit later. Some people, I actually don't really see anyone any sooner. So I would say about 3, 4. You want to give it at least about a week to really start kicking in. But usually by week 2, you should start to see like the full results. Okay, so if you follow me on Instagram, I did have one of those little questionnaire tabs, and I asked if you have any questions regarding Botox or filler, please let me know, and depending on the video it is, I was going to answer these questions. So question number 1 was, how many units do I get? So when I first started doing Botox, which was a few years ago, I was recommended to do the maximum amount of units so that I have a good baseline, and that each time I come in, I would need less and less, which I think is amazing. I think everyone should go and do the most the first time, and then each time that you come in, you will notice that you won't need as much. I do think that if you were to do less because you want it to be, I don't know, a little more subtle, then I think you would probably end up picking it up anyway. So it's probably just better to do it the most the first time, and then every time after that you'll notice you'll need less and less, which means less and less money too. So the first time I went, I actually did 50 units. So that covered the forehead area. I'm using an Araceli Beauty little brush. I did the forehead area that time. I also did my crow's feet. I also did the between the brows. At that time I also did a lip flip. I wanted to try it just out of curiosity, which is no more than about 5 units. Another area that I did was a brow lift. So and what that does is it just kind of picks up that brow. I feel like I already did it, but a brow lift, so it doesn't really pick up too much. But yeah, you could do a brow lift that way too, which equaled out to about 50 units. Now doing my routine, I only do about 30 units, and that's kind of giving a little bit of a break in between also. You know, depending on who you are, you may not even want 30 units. Some people might be watching this and being like, oh my god, 30 units, but that's just my preference. That's what I like. It's what I think. I end up kind of always resorting to. Sometimes I want to do a little less, and once it actually kicks in, I just like, I know what I like, and I end up coming back and I'll get a little bit more, and it ends up equaling to about 30 units. So everyone's different. So my recommendation is coming in, you know, telling your injector your areas of concern, and then kind of going from there, and you'll notice if you do a little bit more the first time, you won't need so much later on. Okay, the next most commonly asked question was, does it hurt? So it doesn't really hurt. I think it's just kind of like an annoying little pick. It's kind of like, what I can compare it to is getting your eyebrows threaded, or just getting individual hairs out when you're tweezing it. Just because you don't really, you know, it's not like something consistently going everywhere. It's just like a little random poke every now and then. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give it about a 4 or 5. It doesn't really hurt, but there is something. I do think I have a little bit higher of a tolerance to pain than some other people, but for the most part, I feel like if you can get your eyebrows threaded or tweeze your brows, then I think you'll be fine. Okay, I'm going to combine these next two questions together because I got them often together and some separate, but what I got was, what do I do before I get Botox, and also what is the healing process for Botox? So before I would go and get Botox, usually you want to avoid alcohol, any blood thinners. There's also, if you go on Google, you can type in like foods and drinks that can cause bruising, and you'll get a big list of it. Depending on what you normally eat or drink, you can go through that list to make sure it's not on there. I bruise easily, so I usually try to go through that and avoid certain foods and certain drinks, one of them being alcohol too, and things like garlic, so that I don't bruise. I don't think when you do Botox you get very much bruising. You might get just like the little prick marks, but it's very, very minimal. You don't really bruise. I don't really see anyone bruising very much from Botox compared to things like lip filler or under eye filler, things like that. For post-healing after Botox, I would recommend, and they would recommend, everyone's a little bit different as far as injectors, but for the most part, they're going to recommend the same things, which is avoid laying down for the first few hours. This is because they don't want the Botox to move around and kind of go into the areas that are not meant for the Botox. If you do lay down though, I don't know if it's going to really change too much, but better just to not. Another thing that you would want to avoid is doing excessive exercising, excessive sweating, or sweating. This is just because this can also kind of take away from where the Botox is meant to be. You want to let it sit in there and actually take force. Lastly, another thing that I would recommend is avoiding sunlight or direct heat. So lastly, one of the questions that I got asked most commonly was, does it help with sweating? And yes, I do think it helps with sweating. I actually never got it done in my armpits. That's just one thing I feel weird about, but the idea doesn't really work with me. So I usually get lasered there, and I feel like that helps a lot with the sweating. But as far as sweating in the face, I do 100% think that Botox helps. I mean, I can sweat in the winter, and I notice I either don't sweat at all or I sweat very, very little. So definitely, if you have a sweating issue, I do think that Botox is going to help. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to keep this very short and to the point. If you guys do have any other questions or anything like that, feel free to leave me a comment here in this video or on my blog. Or if you have a more direct question, I definitely recommend you guys to check out or even ask your questions to Dr. Rachel. She is so knowledgeable, she's very experienced, and she really takes her time with everyone that she's with. So I definitely think that if you want someone who is really careful with what they do and really cares about your own face and how everything's going to come out, I recommend you guys checking her out. There's tons and tons of injectors. This is just someone that I feel comfortable with, and I feel comfortable with like recommending to you guys to check out and kind of spill your questions to, because she's going to give you guys a better answer than I could. Give me guys a few years. I'm still in school with this. I've been waiting for this for so long, but you know, one day, you know, maybe I can recommend you guys to myself, and maybe others will recommend you to me too. So you can also see all of this in my blog in case, you know, you are doing something right now and you just wanted to hear about this, but you want more of a visual, then you can scroll back and go into my blog and see everything and kind of just pick out the highlighted points that really matter to you.